Welcome to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Cathan. Have you ever experienced burnout? Today's guest is an expert in that area and will be sharing her own story as well as some tips from her own personal growth toolbox. Her many certifications include hypnotherapy, NLP, professional coaching. She's a member of the International Coaching Federation and the Association of Integrative Psychology. She's the founder of Strong Minded Ladies. Please help me welcome Shannon Miller-Lutz.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for the lovely words.
I'm so happy to have you here. I want to dive right into this because you've got like tons of achievements and you've achieved success on so many levels. But
Mm.
what did life look like for you before that? And what led you down this path?
Well, life looked crazy. It looked chaotic. One of my favorite terms to use is the hamster wheel of dysfunction, where you're just running and running and running in a circle and it's just crazy and chaos. So I have a background in real estate and I was a top producer with Keller Williams back in Maryland. I now live in Florida, but at the time I was living in Maryland. And on average, I was selling 45, 50 houses a year, really big business, making a lot of money. From the outside, I looked really, really successful. And the agents that would come to me asking me to mentor them, they would say, I want to be just like you. And I would say, you be careful what you wish for because it may look good on the outside, but I am a hot mess on the inside. I was ignoring my health. I was ignoring my relationships and I just worked all the time, all the time.
So you
So,
were really like in the midst of burnout at that time.
oh, yeah, I had just hit a wall. I just hit a wall and I was like, is this all there is to life? Because this really sucks. Just working all the time and not finding, I mean, I had joy. I'm not going to say I wasn't finding joy. I had joy working with my clients. I loved working with my clients. I loved being a part of their story of, I'm going to buy this house and grow my family here. And my kids are going to grow up here. Or, this house is a new chapter in my life. I loved being part of their story. And I think that's what drove me to work so hard and so many hours because I really wanted to be connected to them in that way. But like I said, I was ignoring all these other parts of my life. And that was what was leading to the burnout. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't, doing any meditation. I wasn't spending enough time with friends and family. And look, I worked on every vacation. I worked on my honeymoon because in real estate, the the kind of the theme that everybody is told tacitly is that you can never take time off. So even when we're quote on vacation, we're working. It's super stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially like the way that the world is working right now, we're so inundated with information and rapid fire streams of stuff
Hmm.
coming at us all the time. It's really easy to get caught up in that tornado that leads to burnout. So what
Yeah,
would you tell somebody who might be experiencing similar feelings of that?
you're I would tell them you're not alone. I think we might feel like we're alone, like we're doing something wrong, but you are not alone. Like you just said, Stephanie, we're in an environment in this society now where everything has to be done quickly and now and it's just all around us. We feel guilty if we, don't check our email after hours or, we feel guilty if we stop work, at a certain time. And so I just would like to tell people you're not alone. And I would also like to say there is another way. It might feel like this is life now, like adulting, but I'm here to tell you there is another way. Is it easy to shift from chaos into a more controlled or calm environment? No, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And in my case, I had to blow up my entire life. I had had a coach my most of my real estate career. Coaching is very, very common in real estate. And I had a productivity coach, which, based on my number of houses I was selling a year, I was really productive. But they didn't really address all the other stuff. Their measure of success was my business growing. And so I grew my business, and I had a coach, but I hit a wall, you know, with 53 houses a year in 2017. That was one wall. The next wall, well, the wall right before that was 2015 when I turned 50. And I was like, wait a minute now. I'm past middle age because I doubt I'm going to get to be 100. So I kind of had an existential crisis. And then my business was just kind of out of control, 50-ish houses a year. And for my 50th birthday, I'm a Broadway lover. And I say that, like, when I say lover of Broadway, I mean obsessed. um, I love, 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 love Broadway. So for my 50th birthday, I went to New York and I saw 4 shows. And the last show I saw was Hamilton. And if you are not a fan of the theater, every show has a theme. And the theme of Hamilton is legacy. And so I'm watching the show, and by intermission, I am a complete mess. I am bawling. I am so moved by the story that I'm watching. And I'm like, why am I crying about the founding fathers? Like, this is insane. And what was unpacked for me over the next couple of years, and yes, couple of years, I told you it's not easy, was that this idea of legacy was a part of my purpose and my mission, something that resonated with me so much that it brought me to tears. And in those 3 years, from seeing Hamilton to switching to another coach in 2018, I switched from a productivity coach to a transformational coach, which is basically what I am. It comes with different terms. Some people call it a life coach, personal development coach, transformational coach. And I started having these conversations about legacy and about purpose and about values and about what I wanted my life to look like. And in those conversations, I just lit up. I was like, these are the conversations I want to be having every day. Like these deep, deep, just amazing conversations about, like, why are we here? And in that growth of those 3 years from 2015 to 2018, getting a new coach, having those deep conversations, it dawned on me that I wanted to have these conversations all the time with people. I wanted to help people to become a better version of themselves. And going through it myself, I knew how hard it was, how scary it is to look at your life and say, this isn't it, and be willing to, in my case, blow everything up. But you don't have to blow everything up. You just have to be willing to be courageous and brave enough to look at what's not working and to create things that are working for you.
So, along that journey, and you said you've had a coach like from the beginning of when you started doing real estate. What was the best piece of advice that you ever received?
Yeah. So the best piece of advice, this was actually from my productivity coach before he handed me off to the transformational coach, but he did bring a big, like, wow, blow my mind. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to write your eulogy. And he said, it's going to take a couple of, drafts and edits. It's not going to be perfect the first time out, but I want you to really think about, what do you want people to say about you when you're gone? What impact do you want to have that people are all on the same page when you're gone? And if you think about, recently Jimmy Carter passed away, and everyone said the same thing about him. His character, he lived who he was every single day. I mean, till pretty old. He was very, very involved with, you know, Habitat for Humanity and
Yep,
building
he was still
homes and
building houses at like
right?
99.
I know. So, but everyone was very clear on who he was. And so the process of writing your eulogy is for you to get really clear on who do you want to show up as and how do you want people to experience you while you're here so that they're all on the same page when you're gone and they all say, he or she was this caring or loving or whatever it is that you want to be.
That's a really powerful practice. I can imagine. I have not done it, but as I'm just thinking about it, it's like stirring some things, what do
Mm,
I want people to see? What do I want to leave behind? And that's a powerful question because it activates something, right? It
yeah.
makes you want to show up as that person now
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and leave that legacy. That's so
Yeah, and let me
good.
tell you, it doesn't have to be all precious because I'll guarantee you one thing that people will say about me when I'm gone is that I had the vocabulary of a sailor. And that's okay because I do love me a good F bomb.
I'm telling you, right? People get so shocked when I say something. I'm like, look, I am spiritual and I cuss. Like that is just
Right?
part of my makeup. It's who I am. And it doesn't mean that I am a believer any less. It just
Y-
means that I have strong
Yes.
vocabulary.
Yes, exactly. And that's been since I was a teenager. I used to get in trouble. But I mean, my siblings aren't like that, but that's who I am authentically. Like, that's just who I am. Right. So, I guarantee you someone's going to say that, or more than one person's going to say that because that's who I am.
Oh, you're so fun. Can you share some tips from your own personal growth toolbox that might help some listeners who are struggling with getting unstuck from that spot or that burnout where they're like, I don't even know what I want anymore, or I am just so exhausted I can't even function? Because right now in the world, I feel like there's a lot of people who are just paralyzed,
Yeah.
um, in fear, mostly anxiety, that burnout space where you just don't know which end is friggin' up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's a message here for them.
Yeah. Stephanie, you deal with energy. And one of the first things in my toolbox is noticing energy, whether it's physical energy or mental energy. And when someone is so, like you said, just exhausted by life, that can be really a challenge for them to shift their energy. But
True.
shifting your energy is what's going to get you unstuck. So for physical energy, first of all, you got to make sure that you're getting enough rest. You're sleeping, you're putting healthy things in your body, you're moving your body in a healthy way. It doesn't have to be you going to a gym. Maybe just take a walk out in nature and you're just very present in nature. Or maybe you have a dance party with your kids. But doing something to shift your physical energy will also shift your mental energy. And when you need a mental break from life, put down the phone. Social media is not a break for your brain. That's just draining it even more. So getting off your phone, music, laughter, hanging out with your friends or family, that's going to help your mental energy. So shifting energy, I think, is the number one thing in the toolbox of noticing when your energy is stuck and then knowing how you can get your physical and or mental energy unstuck and starting to flow again.
Yeah, so good. Energy is runs the world, man, but nobody uh talks about it. Like they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was working so hard, I joked that I was spending $50 a month to drive my gym clothes around because the bag was in the car, but I did not have the energy to go to the gym at the end of the day. I was exhausted. And if I didn't have any evening appointments, I'd be like, thank God I can go home. I didn't want to go to the gym. And if I, was prepared and had my gym bag in the car, most times, when do people want to go see houses? After they're home from work. So I would work in the evening. So I always put myself last. And when you don't take care of your physical energy by moving it in a healthy way, you're not creating more energy. You're kind of lowering the tank of your energy. So,
Right.
moving your body and putting your health first is a good way to create energy if you're feeling really drained and just like life is, shitting all over you.
And I like just am resonating with that feeling so much in the past few days. It just seems like there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of uh, overwhelmment, a lot of anxiety. That's what I'm seeing mostly in my clients right
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
And it's really easy to get into that place of burnout. And
Yeah.
so I highly recommend you listen and take the advice of our guest here. Shannon knows when it comes to burnout how to move through that to get you to the other side.
Yeah, and
So,
let me tell you, I feel the same way. Like, if I'm just overwhelmed with everything that's happening in the world, I just start with taking some deep breaths,
hmm.
getting back into my body and taking some deep breaths.
Sometimes that can make all the difference in the world. Just going outside for a minute, just stepping
Yeah.
away from the TV, putting the phone down, and going outside where it's just
Yep.
you and the air and maybe the
Mhm.
sound of traffic. Who knows what's going on outside your door? But
Yeah.
just breathe. Just go out there and take a deep breath and give yourself a freaking break because you
Yeah.
deserve it. You
Yeah.
deserve it.
And I'm in Florida and it's beautiful here today. So, I love to go outside and just ground myself, go out there with bare feet and just put my feet in the grass and get connected with the energy of the earth. Like it's very healing.
It is very healing. There is something about the earth that up against your skin. And
Mhm.
I don't know all the science behind it, but the energy of it is very healing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't do that right now. I'm in Vermont and we have a lot of snow on the ground. So I'll be wearing my boots
Your feet
outside.
would freeze.
But I will still go out there and take a breath and step away
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
give yourself permission to do that. Do you have
Yeah.
some more tips from your own personal
I
growth toolbox you'd like
do.
to
I
share?
do. Yeah. So one of the certifications that I have is through a program called Positive Intelligence. And it talks about how we specifically sabotage ourselves. So we all think that there's thousands of ways that we sabotage ourselves, but the science has shown there's only 10 ways that we sabotage ourselves. We all have the judge, whether we're judging ourselves or we're judging others or we're judging circumstances. And then there's 9 accomplice saboteurs that you might have 2 or 3 kind of strong ones. Um, and that's it. That's how you sabotage yourself. So in this program, we help people learn how they specifically sabotage themselves. And then we teach them how to quiet down those negative saboteur thoughts. And it's through something called PQ reps. So PQ is kind of the shorthand for positive intelligence, and it stands for positivity quotient, kind of like an IQ or an EQ. But a positivity quotient is really about the brain chemistry. So our brains are hardwired to focus on the negative because that's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps us, the fight or flight part of our brain, the kind of reptilian part of our brain that goes back to, is there a saber-toothed tiger in the woods? Because we need to be focusing on that so that we can stay alive, right? Our brains aren't focused to notice the beautiful butterfly because that doesn't help keep us alive. So our brains are hardwired for negative, and that's how we kind of get into these negative spirals, right? Life sucks. You suck. Like everything sucks. I suck. And so we need to focus on getting more positive thoughts because it takes 3 positive thoughts to counterbalance 1 negative thought. And our brains are just running negative thoughts all the time. So these PQ reps are similar to what we just talked about. I can go outside in the beautiful Florida, 75 degrees sunny day today and put my feet on the ground and notice how does the, grass feel under my feet? How does the sun feel warm on my face? What sounds am I hearing? And for you in Vermont, you can go out and listen to the crunch of your boots on the snow or the coldness of the air as it enters your nostrils as you breathe in, and then the warmth of the air as you breathe out. So PQ reps are basically just tiny little 10-second ways of noticing with your senses to get you out of your head and into your body. And I kind of geek out about the brain science on all the coaching stuff that I do. And one of the things that I learned in this program was if you had your head in an MRI machine, it would see the neurons firing in the left hemisphere of your brain, which is where all those negative thoughts live. And when you do PQ reps, the MRI would actually show the neurons now firing in the right hemisphere of your brain. And that's where the empathy circuitry is. That's where the positive thoughts are in your brain. And the more you do these, the more the gray matter on that right part of your brain grows. So you actually can grow gray matter by doing these little PQ reps and increasing your positivity quotient. Pretty amazing, huh?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, I totally geek out about this.
I love that you kind of share the science, behind it and how it actually works and why it works. Because it's a thing that we aren't taught, like I have never heard the term PQ. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the personal growth industry for 15 years, but
Yeah.
I don't really tune into the science. I
Mm-hmm.
tune into the energetic piece. But what I'm loving is the way that you are easily able to translate that to me in a way that I can understand. Because some people, they talk to me about the science and like my eyes glaze over and I'm like, oh my God. But I
Yeah,
love
I don't
talking
I
to
don't use the
you.
big words. Like I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to use the big words. So I'm going to chunk it down and make it like you can understand it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Um, where can listeners go to learn more about you and the saboteurs that you were talking about?
Yeah. They can just go to my website. So my website is my initials, Shannon Miller-Lutz. It's just smlcoaching.com, smlcoaching.com. You can find links for my social media there. There's a contact me form you can fill out. There's some freebies to download. You can read all about me and all those nice initials behind my name. And what I would love to offer for your listeners is if you fill out that contact me form and just put, hey, I heard you on Stephanie's Mind Grow Radio podcast, I will do a private coaching session for them where they take the saboteur assessment, they find out what their top couple of saboteurs are, and I give them a couple tips and insights into, the lies that those saboteurs are telling them and how to shift out of that negative hemisphere into a more positive, energized existence.
That, first of all, that is extremely generous. Thank you so very much, listeners. That is a special gift just for you. So I will be putting the link to that in the description of this interview, wherever you
Mm-hmm.
see it, whether it's on YouTube or Riverside or Spotify or wherever you're finding it, the link will be there for you. And I highly recommend that you go tune into Shannon and the brilliance that she's sharing and take advantage of this amazing free gift that she's giving you.
Yeah. And I just want to say, whether you're just beginning your personal development journey or you've had a coach or you've read some personal development books, just think about where you are and where you want to be. And what's in that gap? What's missing? What steps can you put into place to take just one step towards that future version of you? And maybe it's talking to me. Maybe it's talking to me and finding out how you sabotage yourself.
I fully believe that there are no accidents. So if you're here and you're hearing this, it is no accident. And I am also a firm believer of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
And I've tuned into lots of things that I don't resonate with. And what I'm saying to you listeners is if you are resonating with this, honor that. Honor that and take action, because inspired action leads to amazing places. And it's the little hinges that swing the big doors, as W. Clement Stone used to
Exactly.
say. And it doesn't take, just a little bit of awareness can change everything. It can change everything
Mm-hmm.
for you.
Yep.
I want to give huge, huge thanks to our special guest, Shannon Miller-Lutz. I want to give huge thanks to our listeners for tuning in. What a great conversation. I love mind growing conversations, and I love them, especially when they are meaningful. So thank you for having this meaningful and mind growing convo with me.
Well, I'm all about those deep conversations. I said it. I love having these conversations and hopefully impacting people in some small way. That's my legacy. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, this has been so fun. You've been listening to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I've been your host, Stephanie Cathan. We've been joined by the fabulous Shannon Miller-Lutz. And be sure to click the linky link so that you can go tune into her brilliance. And until we meet again, you keep shining in yours, and we'll see you on the other side.